Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Maxie, and I'm here to talk about whatever I like, and that's usually Spider-Man related, so welcome aboard, Spider fans. And the topic of today is The Ultimate Spider-Man. Not the TV show, not even necessarily the original comics, but the most recent comics, or the most recent run of Ultimate Spider-Man that kicked off in January 10th of this year. Because not only is it just a good story, but it also has been receiving some very good reception, and I'd like to talk about that as well as what it means for Spider-Man stories going forward, or at least what I think it should mean. And of course, I am the #1 Spider-Man fan, according to the #1 Spider-Man fan, so I feel like I have the proper credentials to speak on this. But before I really get the ball rolling, I'd like to take this moment to thank you all for clicking on this video. I really do appreciate you all taking a chance on me, clicking on this video, donating some of your precious time. I do mean all of that very sincerely. I hope you enjoy the video, but please do wait until the end of the video when you've seen all that I've had to offer in this. I'm gunning for 10 minutes this time. Maybe it's a little more, maybe it's a little less. We'll see. But yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man is just fantastic. It is a very good reworking of the classic story, and there's a bit of context you need. I'll try to be brief about it. I'm not trying to summarize the whole series, but basically, here's what you need to know. Earth 1610 is also known as the Ultimate Universe, and previously, it was a dead universe. It was destroyed, but now it's remade again. Unfortunately, it was remade by somebody called the Maker, who is an evil version, like an alternate universe version, of Mr. Fantastic, which is not good. The smartest man alive being evil, that's a recipe for disaster, no matter who you ask. And of course, the Maker did not recreate Earth 1610 out of the kindness of his heart. I don't think he has one. Rather, he made it as an experiment as to how to create a universe that is perfectly governable, or perfectly manipulatable, or like the easiest and simplest to control. And one of the big secret ingredients into making a universe like that, take out the heroes. And to be clear, he didn't kill the heroes, he simply rewrote their histories so that they never experienced the catalyzing events that would turn them into the heroes that would oppose him. And this included Peter Parker. So no, Peter Parker did not get bitten by a radioactive spider at 15 years of age. No, he got a little bit of a delay, but once Tony Stark Jr. started throwing wrenches into the Maker's plans, reasonably so, Peter Parker was granted the opportunity to take back the part of his life that the Maker took from him. And he did so, and he got bit by the spider, and he has this new suit, and he is starting his career as Spider-Man at 35 years of age. Never believe that it's ever too late to pursue your passions. And to me, one of the best parts about this comic is that it does this little thing called respecting Peter Parker. And I know that sounds like a whole bunch of gobbledygook because the writers for Spider-Man actually doing right by Spider-Man has been practically unheard of for years. And it's nowhere to be found in the recent run for The Amazing Spider-Man, which is surprising because that is the main continuity story. It takes place on Earth 1610, it's the Spider-Man that we've been following throughout all of our lives. And somehow, Ultimate Spider-Man, the story that takes place in an alternate universe, is writing Peter Parker better than the main one, than the actual story. Because right now in The Amazing Spider-Man, Peter is broke as a joke, he's alone, and he's miserable, and he's slated to get even more miserable because one of the future story arcs that has been confirmed for Spider-Man in the future is literally called The 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Meanwhile, in another reality, Peter Parker is 35 years old. He's married to Mary Jane, they have 2 beautiful kids, Richard and May. Uncle Ben's alive, because that was the catalyzing agent for Peter. and he has a stable career as a photographer at the Daily Bugle. The man's got a 401k. And speaking of Mary Jane, I mentioned this before, but I really want to stress this at this moment. Mary Jane and Peter Parker are married, which is something that has once again been lost to time, has been MIA in any Spider-Man story for years now, ever since One More Day. It's even gotten to the point where supposedly they're just not allowed by Marvel mandate to be married or be together for some reason. It's certainly not on the fans, because we've been asking for a Peter MJ reunion forever, but for one reason or another, the writers, including Zeb Wells apparently, have felt more than justified in not giving us what we want, and instead cucking Peter Parker. Because as of right now, Mary Jane Watson on or in Earth 616 is not with Peter. Instead, she's with a guy named Paul, who, I'm trying my very best to be objective and unbiased, I firmly believe that Paul was solely written into the Spider-Man story to act as a romantic barrier between Peter and MJ. And of course there's more information than that, but I really don't want this to be a Paul video, so it's not going to be. But do you know where Paul doesn't exist? Right there. Because not only as fully grown adults are Peter and MJ together and have like a whole family unit, there's actual unconditional love there. Because even after Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man, for a couple months, he doesn't tell his family. I mean, he does technically tell his youngest child, May, but that's because she caught him in the full suit. But for MJ and Richard, they learned after the fact, and neither of them held it against Peter. Richard just asks his dad to be careful, and his wife, MJ, is happy for him. Like, it's a mixed ratio of, like, happy, proud, excited, scared, all that stuff, but being mad was not one of them. It was not one of the emotions that she was feeling. And it's actually kind of sweet, because the identity of Spider-Man is actually built up through his family rather than his own mind. Because at first, I get to talk about the Pico suit. Okay, really quickly, Tony Stark made all these like different suits and all this different equipment because his care package, which basically was Tony Stark Jr. giving him some stuff so he could become Spider-Man, it was not just the spider that bit him or was supposed to bite him all that time ago, it was also something called a Picotech suit. Pico, I might switch around with those. If you remember the Iron Spider suit specifically from the MCU and the fact that it was made with nanotech, it's kind of like that. Except that Pico is a smaller measurement than nano. It's even smaller technology. And another thing about the Picotech suit is that it can actually change its form. It can change how it looks. Black suit with white eye lenses because, again, Peter didn't really know what he was doing or how he was supposed to act. But he wanted to change the suit because his daughter told him that it scared her. So they actually sat together on a rooftop and made a couple of different drafts of the suit, trying to find the right design, and they eventually did. And while May was the one who designed the suit, she wasn't the one who gave Spider-Man his name. It was MJ. Remembered how I mentioned she was a marketing expert? Yeah, that lady, that devoted spouse to Peter Parker, is the one who gave Spider-Man his iconic name in this universe. And the only thing more satisfying to me than reading this story and seeing Peter actually being allowed to be happy is seeing that everybody else had that same reaction. I have yet to hear on the internet anybody who is not over the moon about the Ultimate Spider-Man series. What I've seen most often is people actually comparing it favorably against The Amazing Spider-Man, which again is crazy, because Amazing Spider-Man is the older series. It's the main storyline series. It's the one that has the most weight, has the most plot relevance to the character. If anything, Ultimate Spider-Man is an Elseworld story. But even then, those kinds of stories do not usually perform as well as main storyline Batman and Superman comics, and they especially don't outperform the main story, which Ultimate Spider-Man has been doing handsomely. Rewind all the way back to January, issue number 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man sold out 3 times in its opening week. And it's not like the hype died out. If anything, it's gotten stronger. Because in August of 2024, ICV2 charted Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 8 as the top second, or the second top popular sentences. Are crazy, right? ICV2 made a public top 50 comics chart for August of 2024. These charts were based on the point of sale data of every comic book store in the world that was selling American comics. And this data compared all of the American comics from Marvel, DC, Image, etc. Ultimate Spider-Man ranked second amongst the top 50 most popular or most highly sold comics of August 2024, both in units and by dollars, meaning that it sold the second largest amount of units, like comic issue units, across the world, as well as generated the second most amount of money selling them. Meanwhile, Amazing Spider-Man issues number 55 and 56 didn't even crack the top 5, which is embarrassing because Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 8 didn't even release in August. Because remember, these are point of sale records, meaning that the second that money changed hands, that was the point of sale. So that was all of the pre-orders for issue number 8 of Ultimate Spider-Man that were made in August, outperforming 2 Amazing Spider-Man issues that actually came out in August. Their full releases got lapped by pre-orders, which, as the yet-to-be-verified expert in all things Spider-Man, that does paint a pretty clear picture as to what the fans want, which is an actually good Peter Parker story that gives him his roses. And even without bringing up sales figures, just the overall overwhelming approval for the new Ultimate Spider-Man series should act as a clear signal that we want a Peter Parker story where he actually gets what he's earned. Years, decades of nothing but stomaching tragedy after tragedy, misfortune after misfortune, and gaining a lot and then subsequently losing it all. We want that cycle to be done. We want to see Peter living the best life, filthy stinking rich, happy family, happy wife, happy life. That's what we want to see. Not Peter still right exactly where he was 5 years ago. Even if we rationalize and remind ourselves that Marvel is a business, and especially when it comes to media businesses, they simply drum up what's most popular. The sales don't lie. There is something about Ultimate Spider-Man that people favor more than Amazing Spider-Man, which, in my opinion, is all of it. It's not just the fact that Peter Parker is happy, and don't get me wrong, that's a big one, at least for me, but also the writing is more intriguing. The art style is more attractive, I'd say. And I don't say that as like, oh, I prefer the art style, or I like this one more, it looks prettier. Like, it is meant to express beauty in the world. Like, in what we are seeing, there is... what's a synonym for beauty? Splendiferous. I forgot what sentence I was ending that with, but I'm going with splendiferous. It's splendiferous. As to what any of this will mean in the future, that's impossible to say. In the immediate sense, Marvel already has their plans drawn up, so it's very unlikely that they're going to switch things around just because, you know, one series of comics is being outsold by another. It's highly unlikely that Marvel is going to alter course on the roadmap they have for the immediate next steps. But I do sincerely hope that Marvel will take the hint, and they'll accept the fact, or actually understand, that the fans have spoken, and that the fans have spoken for years now. And hopefully, the very clear-cut outselling that Ultimate Spider-Man is doing should be the final thing to say, because it's easy when you're as big of a company as Marvel to ignore emails, fan letters, even like online reception. But when it comes to any business, especially comic books, which are so heavily reliant on fan approval, the sales figures are gospel. Because if you don't follow those trends, then you're losing out on money, and that's not good if you're a business. But also, even if they don't take the hint or they double down in spite of the hints, that shouldn't be any reason as to jump ship or jump the Spider-Man ship, because even if the businesses fail at satisfying our demands, we can fulfill them for each other. There is no shortage of people, artists, creatives on the internet who would be happy to create supplemental materials to fill in the gaps that may be left from the more conventional, proper corporate sources. Those two handsome fellows over there are not like Marvel official posters. They're prints from an independent artist that I met at a convention. Artists like Remington Blake on Instagram are making their own like fan comics for Spider-Man stuff. And if nothing else, we still have the movies that already exist. All of that to say that even if Marvel decides to just be the villain and just make Spider-Man, or more specifically Peter Parker, more and more miserable, there's not going to be any shortage or loss of quality Spider-Man Peter Parker content as long as we have anything to say about it. All of this is to say, in summary, if you will, that even if the worst comes to pass, even if Marvel decides that they just want to absolutely torture Peter Parker even harder, even in spite of what we have said, both throughout the internet for years and in this year in the sales numbers for Ultimate Spider-Man. Even if none of that matters, we can still find comfort in the fact that there will be quality Spider-Man content as long as we, the fans, have anything to say about it. But yeah, these are just some of my thoughts on Spider-Man. Once again, I will never be able to say this enough. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you gifting me some of your time. If you liked the video, I now will say this is the correct time to like the video now if you liked it. If you would like to see more of my content in the future, whether it be just me waxing poetic about Spider-Man stuff or possible future projects I have in mind, then by all means, subscribe, and join Spider Army's taken, Spider Society's taken, Spider Legion's a little too much. The Spider Club, let's say. Let's say Spider Club for now. Yep, subscribe if you like if you subscribe, and do the bells still matter? I don't know, but if you want to ring the bell, go ahead and ring the bell. Maybe it'll keep Venom away from you. Who knows? This is so dorky and I don't care. So all in all, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay hydrated, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.